So the other day, I was in a camera shop and I came across this British guy and we talked about a lot of things. And one of the conversations we had, he asked me and said, "So Simon, tell me something. How does it feel to be Zimbabwean?" I said, actually, it's a mixed feeling, but most of the times it feels like we don't belong. Here's why. Have you ever experienced a sensation of being unwelcome, of carrying the weight of your national identity as a burden? In South Africa, our presence frequently becomes a subject of impassioned debate, a recurring theme of their news cycles, and regrettably, a source of laughter due to the quality of our political leaders. In the UK, they're finding ways to limit the influx of Zimbabwean migrants, of course, Nigerians, etc. But it's actually a Zimbabwean problem for most countries also that are run by kleptomanic regimes. So I said it, I feel like an orphan. Of course, truly I am, but I meant my country is unaccountable for my well-being wherever I am. Wherever you go, your country cannot be able to take care of you, and the government does not care for anything about you except if it's maybe reaching the world news for attention. We are orphans only at an international scale. So the ZANU-PF government is on a new mission to arrest the opposition MPs, as they have also arrested Ostalos for wearing a Highlanders football shirt saying "we fear focal," and then obviously Baba feels there's always violence that comes through it. But I don't understand, maybe I'm lost. I saw a video of Dynamo's football team supporters inciting violence against the Ndebele people, singing to I think they were singing, let's show the video. Before we continue, guys, please like, subscribe, just leave a comment. Come on, just leave a comment, say something. Right now, back to the video. To me, if I was investigating this, I would simply arrest the whole government because they claimed to deal with the tribal divisions in the country by the Gukurahundi inquiries that were fake and not truthful. You remember they had the National Rehabilitation, something like that, and I think it was called Peace and Reconciliation Inquiry, something like that, where they wanted to deal with the impending and also the issues that are precarious within the Shona and Ndebele relations, to go back to the Gukurahundi inquiries, etc. But then the representatives that were dealing with that never came back with any positive results. Nothing was done really to rehabilitate people from Matabele. Do you know why? The most reason why we are seeing Ostalos being the victim, yet belonging to a tribe that has been disadvantaged by this regime, that has been taken for granted by this same regime, that has been marginalized by the same regime. See, that's exactly where the problem comes from. So inciting violence, trumped up charges that are just brought in to further a political standpoint or a political motive, doesn't make sense. Do you remember what happened in South Africa when Zuma was arrested? When there was widespread protests, it even threatened the stability of the country. Why are there no consequences for selective justice in Zimbabwe? You see, people should understand the fact that without the people reacting to everything that authoritarian leaders do, we are in trouble because the people are still in a state of slumber. Anyway, this is something I needed people to look into, and if you want to analyze it very well, I really think that ZANU-PF is afraid a lot, and here's why. You know, ZANU-PF has three powerful tricks in its playbook. The first one is the obvious one: intimidation through using the arms of the government, the security forces of the government. You know how they intimidate? They will use secret agents, they will use any means necessary to make sure that you will not speak out. And the intimidation that they are using now is by arresting you, and they use unreasonable means to do that. Let me show you this video of ZANU-PF arresting Hopewell And it happened 3 times in 6 months. They did this until the US and the UK government were always on their necks. Let me show you. So the second thing that ZANU-PF uses is called PsyOps, or psychological operation. It refers to a form of strategic communication used by governments, military organizations, and intelligence agencies to influence the beliefs, the emotions and opinions and behaviors of the targeted audiences. So let me give you instances where probably people were duped by the government. I know most of you would think this is a small or trivial thing, but well, trust me, there is nothing called a coincidence within governance. There is nothing called a coincidence. So stay with me. So if you remember very well, during the election, a popular musician by the name Chamisa'S went to the UK along with Winky D and a lady from South Africa called Mnangagwa, and they were together in the same show, and this happened concurrently with the election. So the election results were announced on the 26th of August, right at around 10 p.m. if not 10 between 10 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. And at this time, the ZANU-PF was anticipating 2 things: a public uproar due to the election fraud, or a court summon a few days after the election fraud. But then there are specific events that I want you to look at. Right at 12 p.m, I said the results were announced at 10 to 10:30 p.m. Right at 12 p.m, Mnangagwa from South Africa went live complaining about Winky D. I know people will say, Simon, you're overthinking. Well, I think you underestimate ZANU-PF and their machinations. And they knew by the morning, almost all the public social media handles will be discussing the whole fiasco between Mnangagwa and Winky D. Please stay with me. So here's the thing that they use: the so-called social influencers, or whatever influencers, people that have no talent, people that have no significance, people that are vile to the society, people who spend time discussing on internet, and they keep the youth entertained by such things. They put data, they invest all the time talking about things that have nothing to do with the country. So here's why they were targeting people like Hopewell. Hopewell was able to see through the machinations or the means in which they tried to divert the attention of the youth, because they knew that the youth were unfocused and they cannot focus on what's important. So on the 26th of August, just after the announcement of the election, they brought in someone they knew can pull the attention of the youth, Winky D and Chamisa'S and Mnangagwa. So you see, instead of people from South Africa, they knew specifically that the only people that are concerned about the elections in Zimbabwe are the South African youths, because they no longer want Zimbabweans in South Africa. Hence, there was a solidarity between the Zimbabwean youths and the South African youths. The South African youths, just like the old times when the Zimbabwean youths in the 1970s and 1960s were hands-on in the freedom of each other's countries, South Africans were also hands-on in the 2023 election. Stay with me. So the intelligence realized the fact that if they don't disrupt the announcement of the fraudulent election, hell was gonna break loose. Trust me on this one, because I even saw the engagements of South African youths who were literally angry at the way ANC was supporting the ZANU-PF government. So you see, this was a way to divert the people's attention. Then when that worked, the election was stolen. And when the election was stolen, people moved on quickly from it. What is the third thing that ZANU-PF uses? Pure, undiluted, ruthless violence. This goes without saying. ZANU will stop at nothing when it comes to using violence. Not when they know that they can do it. So in fact, I'll let you watch this video, then you tell me what you think about it.
And the main reason why the African people, especially the youth, can now resort to violence, because they are not allowed a word in politics. If I say anything against the government, I'll be behind the bars the next day. There are informers in every square mile of the country.
Do you not fear an informer in this group now?
There may be. I don't care. At this moment, I don't care if there is an informer. Maybe tomorrow I will be there behind the bars, and I don't mind. I am prepared to make such sacrifices, and even greater sacrifices for the freedom of the country.
It's wishful thinking for Heath to expect Smith to reason. The only way for Smith to reason is to use violence. That is violence in the valley. And we are prepared to fight. The Africans, we will do it, since the British government has refused.
These boys talked to me in May at St. Ignatius College, just outside Salisbury.
Now, did you hear that? These were the youths that we had in the country. If so much knowledge in this ideology was fed in the country right now, why would they want each and every one of us to be cognizant of such? You know what they say? They say to oppress you, use sheer force to ensure that your rivals never see the opportunity to rise again. It's a choice people should make. When you make a choice, you wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm going to make a choice about my future, because at the end of the day, there is no forward, there's no going back, there's nothing. You have only two choices: to walk away or to face it. What's happening right now is a state where they don't know what people are thinking about. Can I tell you what's happening? Okay, now I'll tell you what's happening exactly, so that you have a very clear picture. Have you ever cheated on someone and they say nothing? In fact, have you ever hit someone right in the face and they do nothing? You keep blocking the air. Exactly. Keep blocking the air because you're expecting retaliation. You're expecting retribution. You know, when you do something wrong, you expect karma. You expect bad omen. You expect things to happen to you. That is exactly what Chamisa is doing to ZANU-PF. He's haunting them. They're gatekeeping and strong-arming the opposition. You know why? They are unaware of what's happening. They don't know what's his next move. They don't know who is in bed with Chamisa. They don't know where he's gaining his confidence. They don't know why he's silent. They don't know why he didn't go to the courts. I guess that's what he called strategic ambiguity. I know they'll try to vilify me, but I'll be the first to say this before I finish. Zimbabwe will never, ever, I'll say this, Zimbabwe will never, ever become successful as long as ZANU-PF as an organization still exists. Well, I stand by my words. Unlike other people, I stand by facts. 43 years, no change, nothing. Poverty is increasing exponentially, and we think we can really vouch on ZANU-PF changing these times that we are in. We're just in for another ride, and it's a choice. Like I said before, as youths, they decided to take over the country because they saw they cannot change anything. Hence, why should we be part of a regime that suppresses our thoughts, suppresses our means of coming through and challenging them? Why are we suppressed? That's the question. I'll leave you to ponder on these questions. Till next time, my name is Simon.